Please welcome to the stage Dr. Douglas Melton.
The first thing I want to do, and it's a good reason to pause, and say thanks to all the workshop presenters. We said thanks to the group last night, but thank you to all the workshop presenters. 31 workshops put this on. Let's hear some applause for them. By the way, I think you know what these are, don't you? Some people think of these things as the front end to a speaker-independent speech recognition system. Some people think of them as a personal assistant in their home, and some people think of them as a $29 friend. So, yeah, a few people do. And those people might actually carry them in their three-wheeled cheese luggage to a conference. Check this out. Alexa, did you enjoy my talk yesterday? Maybe this is not working, I don't know. Let me just check it again. Alexa, did you enjoy the expo and the presentations yesterday? What about that part?
You bet.
Oh.
You bet.
Oh, a little bit late to the party. But the Keen Talks. Are you ready to get on with the Keen Talks?
All righty.
Okay.
Cowabunga!
I'll have to look for those receipts. All right. You know, when I was a grad student, I was involved in speech recognition. It was one of the first projects that I worked on. We worked on these sentences that were phonetically spelled. I know some of you are thinking, Doug, you didn't run your presentation through a spell checker. Some of these sentences were phonetically spelled, and the interesting part of this is we worked in a multidisciplinary group. It was the first time that I was ever exposed to a group that included computer scientists, phoneticists, linguists, and electrical engineers. And so we had this problem. I walked into the conference room where we were meeting on our weekly basis, and the phoneticists were complaining, and they were saying, you know, your technology, your front end, your speech recognition piece is not getting the difference between gap and cat. And I learned all these things about plosives, which are part of speech. And so, yeah, that may be an issue, and I showed them our technology, and here's how we're getting the information. And to a good note, the linguist said, well, wait, you don't really have to worry about that too much, because fill the gap is very different. We can figure this out linguistically if this comes up. It's very different than fill the cat. A strange moment, but a great moment in saying, what is going on with this multidisciplinary stuff? The one piece I think we were missing is the focus on creating value at that point. But you know, this fit me very, very well because I've always been interested in recorded sound. Here's Francis Densmore actually recording something from Blackfoot back in about 1916 or so. But recorded sound actually hasn't been around that long. Did you know this? This blows my mind. The very first recording sound invention is only about 150 years old. It's amazing to think that there has not been recorded sound before 150 years ago. Unbelievable, about 2 lifetimes. The particular inventor, French inventor, last name was Scott. Eduardo Leon Scott de Martinville created this invention. He put some paper that was coated with soot. He took an oil lamp and then coated some paper with soot, hooked up a megaphone and a brush, and recorded these vibrations onto a picture. And he was done. In fact, he only worked on the recording part of this. It was only one directional. The historians say because he was a printmaker, he never thought about actually reproducing the sound. That only happened about 50 years later with Edison's. Pretty fascinating on how we can be limited in our mind just based on what the systems are around us. And so he only recorded, he never played it back. But through the engineering and science of image processing, people have taken this soot-coated paper, they've run it through some image processing software and reproduced the sound. Do you want to hear it? Cool. This simply proves that engineers have been singing out of tune for about 150 years. So being fascinated with record, you know, you look at me, you can tell. I grew up in the vinyl era. I brought a little bit of vinyl from a collection that happens to be in Keen colors. Kind of cool, right? I was fascinated with vinyl as a youth. Anybody who gets bothered about vinyl will just freak out with what I just did there, right? Because you care about vinyl. You care about this old stuff. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I also liked the album art. I see those judgy eyes. This is art. I was the kid who took the tape recorder out into the snow and would hear the creak of the snow and record that sound with Grandma's tape recorder. I thought that was cool. So my own little sound effects. Then I went into Oklahoma City and I saw, as a youth, this is in 7th grade, and I saw my first oscilloscope hooked up to a microphone, and I thought, oh my gosh, I should make a career out of this. And so I ended up getting into signal processing, wireless communications, ended up leading an R&D group in active sound and vibration control. This just happens to be my journey. And that's what it was. And it created a mental model. And the mental model was like this. I thought of things, and I continue to see things as a source, a signal, a system, and a receiver. I saw things like this all the time. Maybe I'm a person who lives through metaphors, but this is the way I see almost everything. So you take anything like Grover Washington Jr., just the two of us. We can make it if we try. So you take something like that. There's your source. There's your signal. There's your system. And there's your receiver. And so when I started teaching, moving out of the industry world into academia, I saw a source, signal, system, and receiver. I saw the source, faculty members with information. Here's the signal. Here's the system. Felt a lot like vinyl. And here's the receiver, going, what? What's going on here? But that's the way I saw it, and that's the way I started the career. And then Keen came into our university, and I thought, oh my goodness, they want me to put mindset into the stuff that I'm doing? I don't have time for that. I don't have the syllabus. What about ABET requirements? What about all those things? And of course, in metaphor land for me, I of course thought of Grover Washington Jr. again, but a particular album recorded in quadraphonic. And you go, how do you get 4 different separately recorded signals, front and back, onto a groove? Well, you use a matrix. Don't study this matrix. I know some of you are going, oh boy, finally a matrix at Keen. But you want to get 4 different signals into 2, and the answer is, this doesn't work very well at all. But this is actually how people tried to do this. You know what's wrong with this? It's the system. The system is not adequate to do all the things that I wanted to. I was teaching capstone. I taught capstone for 17 years. Loved teaching capstone. And so I was trying to figure out, how do I get this mindset stuff? There's something, I've got to change this system a little bit. And so I took, this looks like the same icon that I used a moment ago for Scott's invention, who only thought about going one direction with this. I took what we'd been doing with capstones, which was taking a capstone funding, they basically paid, we did a project, and we tested usually things that feasibility study. You know the drill. And I said, what if you turned that around? You know, Scott only thought of one direction. What if we thought about reversing that process, and we do a capstone and we generate money and we pay somebody? And you should have seen the horror on our accountant's eyes. Like, you're going to do what? Your students are going to create money and then you're going to pay some. We only take money, Doug. We don't send money out. So there was something different about the system. I was kind of trying to break the system a little bit. But I found somebody willing to take our money. Great partner. And they said, I would really love working with this group. They said, we could do a project together, and we came up with something that would work that was kind of in the area of upcycling. So we took things that Goodwill had, luggage, and we upcycled it, but we did all the technical side around this as well. So all the students worked on the signal processing, the wireless piece, all the things that you can imagine that are wrapped into an electrical engineering capstone project. And everybody got excited about this, in fact, started contributing. I made one call, told them about the project. The news channel came. What a wonderful thing starts to happen when you start to focus on creating value for others. For others is an important addition to creating value. So, creating value became the theme of this particular capstone project. They did all the typical work, creating PCB boards, all that stuff. But they did something different. They found customers in this case that wanted the products. They actually went out and figured out their own specs based on customer discovery. And you still say, how can you fit this all into a capstone project? It's still hard to fit all of this in. Something had to change. And so we stretched the system in some ways, but we ended up with students that created some wonderful products. And then we said, how are we going to make some money? We'll have this open auction. We'll invite the community. We'll take advantage of the news channel and get people to come down and sell the products that and again, our accountants were freaking out. But we found a way so that those funds that were raised from an auction could be contributed to that sponsor. So we turned the direction back around. The important part of this story is not what I did, it's what students like Calvin did. This student, among all the other students involved in that particular capstone, learned that creating value is the critical part of engineering. You can do all the tech, it's the creating value piece. And so that paradigm of what was going on in my mind of what a university is, source, signal, system, receiver, was blown. In fact, it really became, this is really about people being transformers. So of course, it's another electrical, some of you I know are not electrical engineers. Alexa, could you show us a picture of a transformer? Not like that. I want you to meet the transformers, so what we have lined up are a set of Keen Talks. These people are transformers. They are changing the system. How important is it to not care about the vinyl and say, here's really what we want to do. Let's reshape this system. And so join with me in enjoying the next few minutes as we hear a collection of Keen Talks. Thank you very much.